Okay, we will call this agenda and priorities meeting to order for March the 6th, and I will ask Councillor Dunham to please give the land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. The town of Innisfail acknowledges that we are meeting on Treaty 7 territory, the ancestral and traditional territory of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Kenai, Piikani, and Siksika, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nation and Stoney Nakoda First Nation. We acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3 within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. We acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit who have lived in and cared for these lands for generations. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today and those who have gone before us. We make this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation and gratitude to those whose territory we reside on.
All right, thank you. And we'll move into 2.1. Are there any additions or deletions?
Yes, Mayor Barclay, on the council. 3.3, Discovery Wildlife Park, letter of support. And 7.2, in camera, advice from officials.
All right, thank you. Could I please have someone make a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
I'll make that motion, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Thanks. And we will move on to 3.1, Strategic Priorities Update with CAO Becker.
Just quickly, Mayor and Council, the priorities are there for your review, understanding that there's item that is outdated based on Council's previous conversation. This copy, as well as a new draft copy for your consideration, will come to you in 2 weeks. You'll be able to direct administration what you'd like to see as your immediate priorities, and like to discuss more into your next priorities too. So it's there for information.
Okay, so we'll be taking off the ED entity.
Yep.
And then able to add something else onto
Correct.
it. And, okay. Sounds good. Does anybody have any questions about these priorities? We've seen them before. So will you have a list of other priorities for us to choose from?
Yeah, I'd certainly ask council to think about priorities, but we'll also have a cover report and include some of the previous conversations you've had over the last several months regarding priorities, and certainly council will determine what you'd like to be placed as your immediate priorities, and then a discussion further what's really important for council coming forward.
Could we also maybe bring the community economic development plan into that discussion as well? And
definitely, if
yeah.
council wishes to see that strategy or your immediate strategy, we can certainly include those documents too.
just kind of pair them up or have them aligning. That makes sense. Any questions from anybody? No, we'll just have a motion then to accept this as information.
Mayor Barclay, I would make that motion to accept this as information.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, carried. Then we'll have an administrative update at 3.2, please.
Sure, I'll initiate, throw it over to SLT, and I'm likely conclude following their discussion. So administration focuses include council's priorities and directives, operational and capital projects identified within the budget, organizational systems management, and internal and external services and programs. Administration is here today to talk to you, council, to provide you a verbal overview of some of the more significant operational projects that are public facing that council would benefit of having a little bit more understanding. Some of the things that SLT and town administration works on may not be clear to you or even understand that they exist. So may not be directly involved with budget, but certainly have a play on budget. But it's just a time for SLT, senior leadership team, to talk to you, with you about some of the things that they're working on. So please, if there's something comes to mind that's outside of their lists and their conversation, please just fire questions. It's really an open conversation to seek understanding some of those finer details that administration is currently working on. Yeah, with that, I'll put it over to you fine three folks over there, and who wishes to proceed first?
Yes, I'm going first. Okay, so for community services, currently a big focus is the Pace Bus service transition that is targeted to launch with Prairie Bus Lines on April 3rd. We've been moving along, planning upcoming engagements, finalizing the new schedule and contract. Hopefully the contract will be coming to council next week. Working with the app developer to get all of the applicable parameters in place. Phone numbers set up for the call center. The plan is to reach out through the current drivers to get in contact with a lot of the current users. They're going to be our priority for the first part of the transition, is to ensure that the current users of the service get onto the new service with as little disruption as possible. And then we'll sort of shift our focus to promoting more widespread use of the bus. We did also receive word, we do anticipate the second bus that has been down for repairs should be back within the next week to 10 days. So hopefully that will all come together just the way it's supposed to. Solar panel installation started last week at the curling rink. You may have noticed. This will continue on to the fire hall and town office in the coming weeks. As well, the furnace replacement at the arena should be complete in the next week or so as well. So that's the final components of the energy management actions that were initiated in 2021. We've been working on community awards nominations. Those nominations closed last week. With the Community Services Standing Committee, will be reviewing those nominations this month with an event planned for April 21st for the presentation of those awards. Community grant applications and community benefit fund applications have also been coming in. The Community Services Committee is meeting this week to review those applications. Both are thoroughly oversubscribed this year, so lots of applications in both of those categories. So that's good and bad, I guess. Working through with the Innisfail Energy Hub on the energy education components specifically. We're working with Innisfail Middle School on dates to have relay energy into that facility, as they missed out just before Christmas due to the weather with the last sessions. What else we got? The trade show coming up the end of this month. The town will have 3 booths, 2 sort of associated with general town activities, age-friendly playgrounds, employment, all kinds of things, and then the energy-focused area that will have a series of speakers, as well as booths from both Fortis and Equus, as well as the town. The red ice will come out at the arena this Thursday. It will start. So that will be transitioning to lacrosse starting on Monday. Registration night is tomorrow at the Legion. We are anticipating there will be an open house hosted by Laybon and Stantec in March. We don't have a date yet for the review of that Woodlands outline plan. Age-friendly action plan, that committee has approved the plan, so that should be coming back to council, anticipated for this coming Monday. We have also had a change with our building inspector services, so we're working on that transition. So we have contracted to a new building inspector will be working out of the town office here one day per week. What else do we have? Hazelwood houses. So as I believe was mentioned last week, the 2 True Line builds are complete, and there was an open house held over the weekend. The 2 Abbey homes that are sold, one closed today, and the other isn't anticipated in the next month or so. Yeah, that's about it. Any questions?
Okay, does anyone have any questions? Councillor Harrison?
Thank you, Mayor Barclay, through to Director Jenkins. It sounds like the 4 homes that we partnered with the developers on it's turned out quite well, or will turn out quite well. What are the future plans? We still have a number of vacant lots, particularly in Napoleon Meadows. What are the future plans? Are we looking at a phase 2 of this partnership, maybe with a different developer?
I guess we haven't got to that point yet. I think we'll hopefully get these ones sold and squared away so that we're everything's back into the reserves and appropriately allocated. I think there probably is some opportunity for council to consider some work in Napoleon as well. It has been a positive. Working with both of the builders has been positive to date. So I guess that would be a council determination moving forward if we want to expand the program.
Thank you.
Director Jenkins or CEO Becker, have we ever had a response from HS with respect to interfacility transfers using one of our bands? I know you emailed them a while ago, CEO Becker.
At Barclay, only through the general press releases that they provide through their presidents, interim presidents, nothing directly back to their request
Yep.
for the town to have a meeting with HS regarding what that service could look like.
Okay. Any other questions? Well, thank you so much for that, Director Jenkins. Busy times. Who's going next? Director Vickers.
I'll go next.
Okay.
Just that way it's in order, right? So the first item I will say, it is actually on the strategic priorities chart. It is the year end, just because right now it's consuming almost 100% of my life right now. We're almost done. We have to have everything finalized and into the auditors by tomorrow. The auditors will be in the office here next week to do their in-person audit. You should be able to see the surplus in front of you either by the 14th or the 28th of this month to see the surplus for last year, with the auditor report coming on April 24th for final approval. So that's that. Another item that we're big into, which you guys know about, is our urban hen analysis. So we did send out the letters to the people who have current licenses in our urban hen pilot program. So we are waiting on feedback on that. And we did sit down with communications and work out how we're going to put out communication for other people to submit their feedback as well. So that should be out in the public. And I believe it's the end of March is the deadline for all feedback to be in. And then we'll bring the feedback before council. I believe it's the 10th of April, because then that gives us some time to implement a full program before the end of the month if we need to. Another big project that we're starting to just kind of finish up is our employee manual kind of redevelopment. So we had an employee policy. We will be bringing that forward to repeal it, as well as bringing forth an entire employee manual instead. So we took kind of one large policy and broke it out into individual policies just to make it kind of a bit cleaner and make it more updated to the time. So we did that. One other thing that's coming up here is the tax bylaw is going to be coming before council here shortly. I'd like to bring it on the 24th or the 27th of March. And that way it gives us more than enough time to make sure we can print and get it in the mail, which we have to by a certain timeline if we want to have it due by a certain time and so on and so forth. So I'm hoping to bring that on the 27th, and there will be 3 different bylaws again this year. There'll be the regular tax bylaw as well as 2 special tax bylaws as well. We also started a tax review this year. Now, I recognize that this will take a long time, likely 4 to 6 months to do a full review, but we are in the planning stages on who we're looking at and that kind of stuff to look at what changes can we make, if any, and how will that affect our numbers. So yeah, not as much as Megan right now, but once year end is over, then I'll be able to focus more on other policy and bylaw development, which unfortunately for the last 6 weeks or so is kind of sat at a little bit of a back end just until we get this year end done. So.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bates.
Yes, through the director. Could you elaborate a little more on what the tax review is, like what the intent of it is?
Sure, Mayor Barclay through to Councillor Bates. So really we want to look at our tax bylaw, all the different mill rates we have in different classifications of properties, and see how we can adjust those to maybe generate a little bit more revenue for the town without impacting some of our larger base ratepayers, right? For example, this is just an example, but it could be vacant properties or multifamily properties. But we'll be bringing that to you in full depth before any changes or anything is made too.
Thank you.
Are you looking at more categories too, Director Vickers, like in non-res?
That's correct,
Yeah.
Mayor Barclay. So we're still limited. We can do more subclasses inside the non-res, but definitely we can. And we'll be bringing forward what other municipalities are doing so you can see what other people are doing as well.
Okay, so I'll ask a question I thought Councillor Bates was going to ask, but, you know, with respect to the borrowing with the industrial park, like, when do you foresee that needing to take place? I guess, I realize, you know, we're kind of getting into road construction, I guess, soon, and,
Probably by June.
Okay,
It should be
yeah.
done by June, yeah.
yeah, for sure.
So I'm hoping sometime in March, or maybe now the first in April, that I will have something before
Yeah.
yourselves to make a final decision. So.
Sure. Sounds good. Any questions? No? All right, next.
I'm just keep
The big
spending money.
spender, next.
Just keep spending money. I guess kind of outstanding items that we have currently working on is the surface improvements program. That should be tendered out here next week sometime. Currently, we're reviewing the max playground submissions. We did receive 7 submissions last week, so we'll be reviewing those, having them ready for the trade show. As well, for operations projects, we're working on developing the sidewalk program, as well as manholes and valve replacement programs this year, which is new to the operations. One other item that was completed so far this year was our internal audit for our health and safety program. We again did quite well, scored a 95 on that, so really happy with the scoring there. So we'll present out a little more information to council here once we've finalized the information. And then the other one that's taking a lot of Curtis's time, I guess, is the asset management. He's working on a number of things to bring forward to council here, probably second quarter, third quarter. That includes an update to our scorecard review that we presented kind of right at the very beginning of the term here. We rushed that through to you. I know council was quite busy with a bunch of things, so we'll represent that and show you where we're at with our scorecards, as well as working on a 5, 10, and 20-year investment kind of strategy, planning for that, as well as developing out that whole program to include our facilities, make it a lot more broad. We've included now trails. We've got it updated on the road assessment, so we'll continue to develop that and grow it. As well, Curtis and Allison are working on muni-site training, so internally we've started to look at how can we incorporate that into our utilities department. So we're looking at putting in some tablets so that they can now use those out in the field instead of paper, utilizing that, but it does mean some training to see how we can best utilize that information. So continuing to develop that and build data within our muni-site has been a big focus for them. So yeah, we've pretty much got most of our capital projects done and tendered now. We'll be coming back to you in regards to 45th Street close, and probably that is like the last capital that we have. So we're doing quite well when it comes to that.
Did you miss anything? Did you miss anything? Aquatic Center? Anything happening with that? Or?
Well, that's on the strategic one, no. We are doing our final meeting for the Aquatic Center on Thursday. The report is completed. We're just doing a final kind of closeout of that project and bring it to council here probably in 2 weeks.
Okay, sounds good. And I'm curious, Director Kennedy, with the asset management, like, are you now to the point where, like you mentioned trails, like will you be putting natural areas into the asset management plan? And
Definitely, Mayor Barclay, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
We're not there yet.
Yeah.
It is on the list though, to include in there, to keep developing it out. Where we're at right now is trying to get it to a point where we've included all of the assets. with the information that we have to date, we are focused on getting that trail master plan updated, so we want to make sure we get that in there while we've got it too. But we will definitely have that included.
Awesome. That sounds great. Any questions? Councillor Harrison?
Thank you, Mayor Barclay, through to Director. Just a little clarification on the tablets. Will there be a day in the very near future that there will be a tablet mounted in the public works trucks where they can enter their work orders and what they do? Like, you know, I look at the RCMP, I look at other organizations, it's all done in that screen within their vehicle. Do you see that happening here?
I don't see them mounted in vehicles, but they'll be portable for sure. That is the direction that we're trying to get. Work orders, even just our as-built information. Like right now, we've got booklets that we print off. You know, 8-10 copy. It's a lot of work. This is just going to be helpful for them to not have to print information off, as well as doing work orders, doing our inspections on the tablets, and then it's saved directly right into our system. So, yeah, that's direction.
Good, thank you.
Director Kenyon, just putting this out there and you can think about it, but when you took us on a facility tour, I know some of the citizens in our community, they would love to go see some of that, like the reservoirs and that kind of thing. Like, is that possible to maybe do like a tour with some residents that would be interested in that kind of thing, or?
Yeah, definitely possible.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of coordinating.
Like, not now, it's cold, but
Yeah.
you know, down the road, I think that there's some people that would be really interested in that, and I think it's a really good eye opener for people. Like when you know, attach a cost to something and you don't see it, right? But when you go see everything that is in a building,
Right.
and what gets the water coming out of the tap and all that kind of stuff, I think it's really good education for people.
Yeah,
But-
we could definitely look at that.
Yeah. Okay. See you, Becker?
It might be a lot quicker than those guys over there, but really it's the role of the CAO's office to work with the SLT and others, but you know, looking at organizational effectiveness, systems management, don't need to go into all those, but really supporting the senior management team onto their teams with their plans and provide direction as required. Obviously, working with you, council, on the meetings is a large task to make sure you have the right information. So the CAO office reviews all that information, making sure it's hopefully understanding to you to make the best decisions possible. Obviously contracts too, and supporting the contract side, and then the public complaints, inquiries, service requests too. Really a large part of my time currently is the Innisfil Energy Hub. Finding that some of the work we're doing is gaining some attention outside our boundaries. In relation to Alberta Innovates is really drawn to us. I read your Polytechnic, a little bit Invest Alberta, but there's different external stakeholders that have drawn onto Innisfil. I think we'll see that hopefully Wednesday evening of this week and perhaps Thursday. But my role is directly to guide the community conversations priorities currently. So just transparency, Wednesday night, council received an invitation for a community conversation really geared towards local banking institutions, service clubs, focus on community investment, but there's going to be many others anticipated to be present too. So it's going to be really a general conversation, led a little bit through administration. EFL posed a few questions, but really it's just to have a conversation, interact with the different people around the room, and just get an understanding where people are at in relation to energy transition. Be similar type of energy as we witnessed at the Darkwoods community conversation a month or two ago. Also oversight of the Fire and Protective Services Department through the manager. Right now we're building out the proper paperwork in relation to assistant fire chief position, then which is delayed a little bit, the focus on development terms of reference for the regional policing committee, We're still waiting from the grant associated with the safety and wellness plan that we talked about quite some time ago. So we're waiting for that grant response before we come back to you on, again, for a forward plan based on that scope. Yeah, if there's any questions, council.
I'm curious on like grants. So the other morning when we were on the town hall with Rebecca Schultz, she mentioned it was called the Infrastructure Renewal Grant or something, and like I don't know what that is. I don't necessarily need to, not my job, but I'm curious, like, how does that information get to like your team? Do you get emails from the government all the time with programs that are available, and how do we kind of find those pieces that fit into what we want to do, or do we need to fit what we want to do, like more so determine, okay, well, let's do this because the money's there, as opposed to, well, let's do this and then try to find the money, like maybe reverse it a little bit? And
Yeah, good question, Mayor Barclay. Largely, it's shared through SLT, whether it's through an email or directly at our weekly, sometimes more than weekly meetings that we have. So both ways I would recommend is often they talk about ready
Yeah.
projects. So that's based on your priorities. So getting ready with projects that are required in the community as priorities, and then grants could come, or you build towards a grant, which it takes a lot of time, and sometimes it's too late. So the best thing is to have your priorities established to be able to be prepared for grants that come across. But yeah, those grants are certainly explored, reviewed based on council's priorities and future priorities, if it's capital, for sure.
yeah, are you familiar with that grant at all? Like, would it be something that may fit, like aquatic center as an example, or?
I believe that would be referencing the ISIP, which is the Investing in Canadian Infrastructure Program. So that is one we've looked at. Again, has a culture and recreation and a green infrastructure. And I'm not sure, I know when we went through that provincial budget, it didn't look like there was a lot of money in future years.
Yeah.
So I know often that funding, there'll be a 4 or 5 year money agreement will come between the feds and the province, and then that money will roll out, and then there'll be a
Okay.
new set that comes out.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anything else, or are you done, CO Becker? Okay, any questions? No, well, thank you for the update, everybody. Like, I think we all really appreciate this and know where things are at and how it's going, so thanks for all your work, as always. So I'll just have someone please make a motion that we approve this update.
I'd like to make that motion, Mayor Barclay, that council approves the verbal administrative updates provided as information.
Perfect, thank you. All in favor? Okay, carried. And we will now go to correspondence, or no, 3.3, sorry, the Discovery Wildlife Park, the letter of support that Doug Boss has sent in. So we just need a motion from somebody to please, that we will provide this letter of support. Councillor Bates?
Yes, I would, with the information provided, move that we provide them a letter of support. It sounds like it would be good for tourism
Yeah.
in Innisfail.
Yeah, it sure does. Great to see the success they had this last winter. So anybody have any comments about that? No, all in favor? All right, carried. And we will move on to 4.1, information. If nobody has any questions, we'll just have a motion to accept this as information, please.
Mayor Barclay, I would move that we accept the correspondence and information.
Perfect, thank you. All in favor? Okay, and now we'll do roundtable, and today we're starting with, I'm going to go in the order that's on the sheet today, and instead of messing up. Just, well, we'll start with Councillor Harrison.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Barclay. And not like sounding like a broken record, it was a very quiet past week again for me. I'd just like to pass along my congratulations to Bilton Manufacturing for, the press release that came out and where they're headed with their projects. It's very encouraging to see that Innisfail is again put on the map and leading the way. So I'd just like to pass along my congrats to Built and Manufacturing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Dunham?
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. Last week, attended the EFL with Sean Collins on shaping and leading a movement. It's always wonderful to learn a little bit more about Sean Collins' history and how he has succeeded in the ways that he has. Also had the 2023 budget analysis with AB Muniz, which was very interesting. And that was my week.
Great, thank you. And, I didn't go in the order. Councillor Messaros? Try to pay attention.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. Yeah, it was ramping up a little bit last week too with the 2023 Alberta Uni's budget summary, which was very interesting. I had my first meeting with the Historical Village Committee, and it was an interesting night to be there because it started with their AGM, and then they went into the regular meeting, so it was kind of a 2-for-1 for me. They have a list of things, events that they're going to be sitting out over the next little while. One is the registration night, tomorrow night or the next night, the trade show at the end of the month, and they're having a casino night at the beginning of August. There was a report put forward by Ernie Huss of the Men's Shed for some a development opportunity that at some point someone from the Historical Village will be by to talk to administration. I am sitting in for Councillor Dunham this week on the Community Services Standing Committee, and it's an exciting week to be doing that as well with the grants that we're going to be reviewing, so I'm excited about that. MPC is cancelled, and also looking forward to the Innisfail Energy Hub on Thursday.
Right, thank you. And Councillor Wing?
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I attended the Innisfail Public Library Board meeting last week. Work has begun on the new plan of service, which I have talked about in the past. However, there is a community questionnaire that's been formulated, so I will be sending the link out to all of you. The library will be present at the community registration night tomorrow, and the survey information will be shared there as well. Sad to inform you that Library Manager Tara Downs has resigned effective March the 31st, so the recruitment process for a new library manager has begun. I also participated in the Alberta Muni's webinar for the Alberta 2023 budget last week. And on a not council related note, I just wanted to share, I was invited to participate as a dragon in a set of 12 student presentations from the Horticulture Applied Degree Program at Olds College last week. Students were asked to enhance their projects with a social innovation component, in addition to some very interesting and innovative ideas from students, which included everything from water filtration through mushrooms, urban forests, berry trenching, and lots of projects with skill development for disadvantaged members of our community. I made an interesting connection with Jerome Morgan, Senior Innovation Manager for Clinical and Social Innovation from Innovate Calgary. So he is very keen to learn more about Innisfail's activities with the Energy Futures Lab. So to CAO Becker, I'll be sharing his contact information with you. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Bates?
Okay, so last week I participated, same as others, participated in the Sean Collins Join a Movement and the budget webinar from AM. I did miss the open houses in Hazelwood. I got kind of wrapped up in the hockey playoffs that were happening down at the arena, and the U15 team did capture the league. It was pretty exciting. They beat their arch rivals, Ponoka. They might get on to provincials. They've got 3 games to try and play in the next week, from Lethbridge to Bicycle to Airdrie. Yeah, read it just before it came. I looked at an email for the Police and Safe Community Committee. The initial survey results are in, and I was a little disappointed that there were only 138 responses, but it looks like there's a good varied amount of information in there and some good comments, so it'll still be quite useful. For this week, MPC was canceled, obviously not needed. Wednesday, I have the Water Commission meeting, and Wednesday evening and Thursday, the EFL reception and meeting. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So last week, went up to Edmonton to the legislature to budget 23. The next morning, there was a town hall with Minister Schultz via phone, province-wide, that I participated in. Was also on the Noon Hour Learning, EFL Learning with Sean Collins. And then Alberta Muni's budget webinar later that week. And on Friday, I had a phone meeting with Mayor Hanson from Sylvan Lake. I shared the town's MOU with the chamber with her. She wanted some information about that. I did attend the open house on Saturday to go look at our houses out in Hazelwood, which was very interesting. They had a good turnout from what I hear. This week, participating in the SHECA, the Society of Hospital Expansion for Central Alberta Town Hall, and then have a meeting at City of Red Deer later that afternoon, and also EFL workshop and the community conversation at the Legion the night before. So looking forward to a good week ahead. So we will now have a motion to go.
Sorry, Mayor Barclay.
Yes.
One thing I forgot to add is thank you, Councillor Messaros, and I will actually be gone the next 2 Mondays, so we're not in council. Just wanted to mention that.
So enjoy your vacation.
Thank you.
Okay. And we'll now have a motion to go in camera, please.
Mayor Barclay, I'll make that motion.
Okay. All in favor? Perfect.